Um, I once had this set of Lincoln Logs, and I don't know, toys have gotten, I think, progressively better throughout the years because I still play with toys. They're just a lot more fun, right? But I had these Lincoln Logs, and I had a lot of them. Like, I don't know how many Lincoln Logs you can own as a person, but I probably pushed that limit. And so when I got out my Lincoln Logs, it was a lot of stuff, right? I'm pulling out like buckets of Lincoln Logs and there were so many pieces, it was ridiculous, right? So one day I went and I asked my mom, "Can I get out my Lincoln Logs?" And her response was, "No." Simple as that. You can't get out your Lincoln Logs. All right. I didn't like that answer. So I went to my dad. I said, "Hey, Dad, can I get out my Lincoln Logs?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" So I go out. I have permission now, right? I go out and I get out my Lincoln Logs. Well, I learned something valuable that day, and that when you get a no from a parent, that's a no from every parent. It doesn't matter if you go soliciting other opinions, right? So I go and I got out all my Lincoln Logs, and it's just everywhere, right? My mom comes in, and she is hot. She is mad, and I got a whooping that day. We had whoopings when I was a kid. I got a whooping, and I didn't understand. I was like, I asked Dad. He said it was okay. Yes, but first you asked me, and I said no. And so what I learned was that there was an authority in place, and that my mom and my dad shared that authority, and that one was not greater than the other, and that I couldn't keep going to different sources to find out what I wanted to hear. I had to listen to the authority of what was told to me. And so what she taught me there was that I needed to respect authority and listen to it when it was spoken into my life. Here's what I'm saying to you today is let God be your authority. Let him be the judge, and let him be the deciding factor in your life. In John 10:27, it says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." Here's what I find that most people will keep soliciting opinions until they hear something that they want to follow, and not something that's authoritative that forces them into a path that's best for them. They would just want to hear something that they already believe and want that to be their opinion that they take. So you'll keep asking opinions from different friends, from different sources, until you hear the one that you want to hear, and then that solidifies your decision, and you go on that direction. We need to respect authority. We need to let God be the authority. And if he says something, we follow it. Like there's no questions involved. I don't keep looking for other advice. If God says it, specifically if he says it in his word, and there's no room for error, it's black and white, God wants us to move in this direction, that we use that as our authority. That we don't go asking around for something that lets us do what we want to do, rather than what God wants us to do. And here's what I think we need to do in order for that to happen. I think if we want God to be the authority, then as we read his word and he says something, that we do it, no debate. No questions asked. God, as I approach your word today, as I look for what you have to say to me, if you say something, before I even start reading, I'm going to say yes to whatever I find in here. As you challenge me to change my life and to move in the direction of your best for me, I'm going to already say yes. And as I read these things, there's no debate involved. I'm not going to continue to ask other people's opinions until I find what I want to hear. I'm going to listen to the voice of God and allow him to decide my next steps. We respect authority, and we allow God to be that authority in our life. Second thing is, if we want to respect that authority, we need to honor God with our words and our actions. So as God tells us to follow his word, and as we start patterning our life after God's instructions, then as we talk and as we do the things that God's called us to do, we are honoring God with our life. We need to respect that authority, not just listen to it, but respect it and give honor and worship back to God. And then as we do that, I think that filters into our planning stage. Well, we sit down and we look at our budgets. When we sit down and we look at our 5-year plan, I don't know, does anybody actually have one of those? A couple people are. When you look at your overall plan, where you're going to go, to invite God into that time. To say, God, you're the deciding factor here. You're the vote that trumps everything else. If you want us to move in this direction, we'll move in this direction. If you want us to pick up everything and move to a foreign country because that country needs to hear about Jesus and he wants you to be the person to tell them, then we already say yes to that, even though that's a drastic thing, right? That's a big decision. That's a huge move. But to say, God, I'm going to allow you to have the CEO seat in our planning meeting today and allow your decision to filter down into all my other decisions. So we let God have first right to choose our direction and our path and allow him to be part of that planning process.